Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. Now this week, I've got a lighthearted one for you. Lighthearted. And I quite enjoyed it. It was very much a big contrast from the dark book I read the week before, but I like it at the same time. It's very different vibe, but also very fun and just overall uplifting, positive. So let me talk about it, right? So the book for this week is called Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. So what is this book? It takes place entirely at a convention, like a fandom convention, where you see all the little booths where they sell things like books and comics and merch, like t-shirts, those little Funko Pop things, like a bunch of different stuff from a bunch of different fandoms. There are references all over the book, from things like from Marvel, Star Wars, even Firefly. What else? There's just like a lot of stuff in there that was, there were TV shows, there's Supernatural in there. It's a lot of stuff referenced. And I got most of the references. I was pretty happy about that. But it was kind of like a little Easter egg hunt of anytime a character said a reference, or maybe they were looking around at stuff and they mentioned a character. That kind of stuff was very fun. So yeah. Entire book takes place at this convention. It's a 4-day convention. So it's one event, but it ends up changing the main characters quite a bit. Because the environment is so welcoming, and it's so, like everybody there is super excited about the same things. It results in new friendships, even testing new romantic relationships, and also just kind of boosting the character growth that these people go through, just personal growth. So that was really cool to read. The book focuses on two perspectives. So there's one perspective. I should mention the two perspectives know each other because they're friends. So before I introduce kind of more about those two, I'll just kind of say that there's a group of 3 friends who travel across the world. They're all 3, they come from Australia, so they travel to the United States to go to this convention. So those 3 friends are kind of the main characters. Out of those 2, though, are 2 of the perspectives that are showed in the book, or rather that we follow, So let's talk about the 3 main characters, because really it's just kind of following their journeys and their relationships that makes the book really interesting, and especially how that relates to how they interact with other people within fandom culture. So there is Taylor. We are introduced to Taylor, Taylor is I believe she is a white Australian. She is plus size, and she is also autistic. So she is a cosplayer, she is a writer, she wants to write books and screenplays and stuff. So that's super cool. And so Taylor, though, is kind of worried about being in a very crowded space. She has to mentally prepare for things quite a bit, especially when it comes to being around big crowds. But she's really looking forward to meeting her favorite author at this convention. So, like, she's kind of trying to figure out, how to just kind of work through her emotions, because she feels like, this convention is worthwhile, and it'll be fun, And then we have Charlie. Charlie, she is a Chinese-Australian bisexual woman. I think they're 18. I think they're all 18, if I remember right. But, teen woman, kind of that range. So, they're all in their final year of high school. But Charlie, I'm trying to remember. Oh, Charlie is a vlogger, and also she's an actress, so she got to be in, like, this zombie film that did really well worldwide, and so she's like the second lead character in that, and she's getting over a pretty bad breakup where her co-star, this guy, cheated on her, and so she broke up with him. Unfortunately, the producers really want the two of them to be together for the promotional stuff, at least to be together, like in the same room, that kind of together. So they send the guy over to the convention as well, when she was hoping to be by herself, Charlie. So that kind of dredges up some issues, but she tries to work through it, for the fans. She tries to keep her head high and just keep moving forward, and that's going pretty well initially. And she even runs into her kind of crush, who that's Alyssa. She's a black woman who is, I believe, a vlogger and also an actress, maybe, but definitely a vlogger, and she's really famous. And so the two of them hit it off and start maybe possibly developing some feelings for each other. And that's not the only romance around. Taylor has a little bit of a romance of her own, and that involves Jamie. I mentioned there are 3 friends who went from Australia to this convention. One of them is Taylor, one of them is Charlie. Those are the main 2 perspectives. And then there's also Jamie. Now Jamie, he is a photographer, and he is good friends with the other 2, with Taylor and Charlie. But he really, really likes Taylor and has had a crush on her for a while now, but Taylor just kinda makes up reasons in her head, thinking that there's no way he likes her in that way, and so their interactions are very cute, and their friendship, they both really like their friendship, but they consider, like, during these circumstances where their emotions are heightened and excitement is all around, they start maybe possibly exploring a little bit into a romantic relationship. So that's very fun as well. We've got the 2 romantic relationships developing for the book, and also the friendships are really strong. And even though, like, the friendships going in are really strong, I think, like, they have decent communication, but there's still more about them to learn about, or they have more about each other to learn about, because especially their apprehensions about the future. Like I mentioned, that the 3 of them are in their final year of high school, and so the future is this big unknown, and they're maybe a little worried about that for different reasons, and also excited. And so as things are starting to kind of change, they have some things to communicate and to kind of work through that this convention helps kind of uncover. And happens at the convention, the new stuff that kind of bombards them without them expecting it to. Stuff having to do with Charlie and her public, relationship with her co-star, because, she wants to move past him. I think his name is Reese. She wants to move past Reese, but he keeps kind of goading on the rumors that they're together when they're not, and just Reese is not a good guy. He's just such a mediocre person, and also just unhealthy to be around, I think. Because he just comes up with excuses for himself, and the media is a lot more forgiving to him. And kind of segueing from that, this book does a really good job of showing a bunch of different facets of fandom culture, both the positives and negatives. And to kind of talk about the negatives a little bit, they bring up some of the downsides of how people tend to give guy actors more leniency in comparison to the women, and also asking the guy serious questions about acting whenever they're in interviews, public interviews kind of thing, but then they ask the women about their diet regimen, stuff like that. The sexism that's in having to do with celebrities, especially acting, and that kind of goes into fandom culture as well. And Taylor runs into some of the cosplaying related stuff, how, Taylor is plus size, and the book kind of has a scene or two where it explores, or at least discusses, how some people can be really negative about, no, you have to be skinny to cosplay, and that's just not true, and it's just really fatphobic and rude. It also covers a little bit of how there's racism in a similar way in the cosplay community, and just stuff like that, the negatives are very much discussed, and I think the book provides a lot of good examples of healthy conversations when you encounter some of those difficult stuff from other people. It kind of gives really positive examples of how someone can work through that, and it is on a very short time scale, because it's 4 days covers this entire book, but it's still a really good way of showing you don't you can't control what other people say, and it'll hurt. It'll hurt sometimes. Their ignorance really just can hurt, but at the same time there are so many people out there who are going to support you and who do believe in you, and you certainly can believe in yourself, and that's the best that you can do when dealing with people who think you shouldn't be in a community that you have every right to be in, that kind of thing. I think it explores the negative stuff, and it also explores the positive. One of the examples being how quickly friendships can form over a shared common interest. That's it. So you run into someone at a convention, and you're in line, and you start talking with them, and all of a sudden you become awesome friends, and you even though you don't live in the same city, you still become kind of online friends. That sort of thing happens, and I think it's really cool that they represented that in the convention space, because it really does happen. And That's one of my favorite things I think about conventions, is just how really, like, how positive they can be in that sense, because everybody there is going, oh my gosh, I love this, like, I love this fandom as much as you do. I'm with people who are like-minded and who share this same sort of excitement enough to dress up and to be here. Like, this is super exciting, and I love that, because that kind of culture is just really, it's really super fun to be in. Feels like a really, how do you call it? It just seems like a really uplifting space. Like, when I go to a convention like that, I feel like I'm in a really positive, fun place. And I've actually not been to many. I think I've been to 2 conventions. We're not going to talk about the second one very much, because unfortunately that one was not advertised well, and so nobody really came to that one. But the first one was really fun, and just, I cosplayed to that one. I cosplayed as, Death the Kid from Soul Eater, and I was kind of just awkwardly there. It was my first time going to a convention, but I was there to, help somebody out at a booth, although they got sick with COVID, so, it ended up being that I didn't help them out, because they couldn't be there. So they just said, you know what, we already have the passes, feel free to just go. And so I went. It was my first convention, and I was super excited, but, like, I didn't think I did my cosplay all that well. It was kind of a little rushed, but, like, when I walked in, there were, like, people there that were, like, super, super hyped over it and going, oh my gosh, that's really cool that you put so much time into that. And they like, took pictures with me and stuff, and I was going, oh wow, this is really cool. I did not expect this. And then, like, more and more cosplayers started showing up, and there were so many booths, and there were so many events. I went to a few panels and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna brag about this a little bit. I know I'm talking more about my own convention experience, but this book is kind of bringing up positive memories for me, so for the sake of just kind of saying what this book made me think of, a kind of positive experience was, I said I was, cosplaying as Death the Kid, and that was because I had created kind of the cosplay a few years ago for a high school dress-up day. Hadn't worn it since, but, like, I had it available, so that I could, you know, cosplay pretty quickly right away, on short notice to help somebody out at a booth. I had no idea, though, that the voice actor for Stein, who is, a character from, Soul Eater, the same anime I was cosplaying, I had no idea he was gonna be there. He walks right past me as I'm, like, looking for, like, the entrance to something. He walks right past me, and he tells me, nice cosplay. And, I was like feeling happy, because I was like, ooh, a compliment. And I thought I recognized the voice, but I didn't know what he looked like, and I didn't know he was gonna be there. And it was only when someone, like, right after told me, hey, you know that's Stein, right? That's when I, like, went, oh. And yes, I love Stein, the character, so that was a super cool reveal thing, and I went to talk with him more later, and so that was just, it was a cool experience. Yeah. So that was super fun. Also, the cosplays that were there were super great. There was a really good Fizzaroli cosplay, Fizzaroli from Hell of a Boss. And, like, even had, like, a glowing baton stick thing to where when the lights went out at one point because there was a storm, all the cosplayers, like, got out all their glowy things, like all their glowy props, and the room just lit up with, like, glowy prop stuff, including, like, the Fizzaroli baton, and everybody was cheering and stuff, because, yeah, there's a thunderstorm going going on. We can't leave the building, but at least we have glowy props. So that was a cute, fun sort of small thing that just kind of is one of the many small positive things that really build up, I feel like, from experiences like those. And that's what this book really, like, reminds me of. It made me feel that again, of going like, oh, this experience, I know what these characters are going through, and I feel it through the pages. It's super lighthearted, super fun, and yeah, they go through, you know, like, they go through difficult conversations and life stuff, and also stuff to do with rumors and online, some online troubles and stuff. I won't get into it too deep, but like, they go through some kind of difficult things, but it all feels manageable, I guess. They kind of go, alright, well, this is hard, but we're gonna face this head on. We can do this. And some of those troubles involve, like, identity as well, marginalized identity. I already mentioned kind of the fatphobic, like, comments that Taylor has to go, well, ends up going through, overhearing that kind of thing. And in addition, like, Taylor, again, is autistic and is kind of still working through just kind of how to, I guess, how to function at certain events, that kind of thing. And oh my gosh, her experience was so relatable to me, of the stuff she was talking about with being autistic, those certain symptoms. I even learned a new term, social hangover. The essentially kind of the exhaustion period that you have, or that some people have maybe, after socializing for a while, even with people they enjoy being around. And me, I feel that all the time. After socializing for long enough with people, I have to have decompression time. If I go on a trip and I stay at somebody's house for like a week, it took me over maybe 2 to 3 months for me to actually, like, decompress from that. And part of the trouble with that is, after that week, I kept having event after event after event, so I just kept not having enough decompression time, that it built up, and it made my life really difficult. So I'm glad I know what that term is now, because I've tried explaining it to people, and it just is kind of hard. Because some people interpret that as, oh, you don't want to spend time with me, and that's not what I'm saying. So stuff like that is talked about in this book. Yeah, this book has me thinking about a lot of things, because it just really does provide a lot of thoughts on a lot of different aspects of how people go into fandom culture spaces. And yeah. Yes, that did cover most of everything. I'm gonna check my notes just to be sure, though. But that's everything I remember at the moment. So I did cover everything except for my first point, which I maybe mentioned just like a little bit, is the character growth. So not just the friendships and relationships, romantic, platonic, being really neat to see develop, but also just like what Taylor and Charlie end up going through, how they end up moving past every, like, challenge that kind of gets thrown at them, or that they approach. They really do grow quite a bit to each be stronger in different ways and more confident. And I think I love that happens in this book, because I think in particular, fandom spaces are great places to grow your confidence, especially when it comes to cosplay. Because when you are, like, dressing up in a outfit that feels sometimes like a little larger than life, it's definitely like the kind of outfit that if you go to the grocery store and you're gonna be the only one dressed like that. dressing up for cosplay really does feel like you're putting yourself out there, you know? And going to a space where there are gonna be, like, other people cosplaying really helps validate to your own self, like, hey, I am accepted here. This is okay. In fact, this is great. I am doing awesome. I look awesome. I put a lot of effort into this look. Or even if you bought the look, that's awesome too, because you are wearing it. You are showing, like, that you care enough about what this character or the fandom represents to you, that you are putting yourself out there by donning your cosplay like a suit of armor. Like, it really feels like, it really feels awesome to be in a space where that's accepted. That's why I love Halloween, by the way, because, you know, it's the day of the year that everybody gets to dress up differently, you know? But, like, I love cosplay spaces for that too, and it really does boost your confidence quite a bit. You kind of just gotta find your own spaces to be able to, like, practice your confidence in a way. And spaces like where there are, like, a lot of cosplays around, those spaces are great for just building your confidence. All that wrapped together, I think, just kind of describes this book. The upliftingness of cosplay, of bonding over fandoms that you love and other people love, getting to talk about stuff. I mean, that's part of why I like talk about books so much also. Like, if I convince you to read a book, I get to talk to you about it. Or, either way, I talk to you like this. So, maybe I can help you feel a little more included on the online space that is the internet, by talking about a book that you love, or introducing you to a book that you'll love, that kind of thing. I hope that it's positive overall, you know? Or you just get to hear about a book, and maybe you don't ever read it, and it's perfectly fine. There's a lot of books out there, and it's kind of fun to know about a book even if you haven't read it. So I hope that that at least gets to be part of your experience in listening to these videos, and that it also helps you relax or go to sleep. That kind of thing is good too, because these are ASMR videos. Even if I don't have a lot of, like, the traditional sounds, I do definitely, you know, whisper for a lot. And yeah, I guess that's it. I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head. So, thank you so much for listening. You are an awesome listener. And I hope that wherever you go next, whatever you do next, that it is fun and or relaxing and or worthwhile to you. And ideally all three.